Hey, family. This is another episode of the Blemish Beauty Podcast, and I am your host, Shara Renee. If this is your first time listening in, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I pray that you hear something worth holding on to. For those of you who are joining me again, welcome back. The goal of this podcast is to erase the norm and embrace the truth. We all hide behind some kind of mask. So in this space, I want you to feel free to own your scars and see the beauty within. I am a Christian influencer, a mom, an entrepreneur, a content creator, and Jesus Christ is my source in all things. And I believe that with Him, anything is possible. So with that being said, let's jump into today's episode. We have made it through another successful season of the Blemish Beauty Podcast. I appreciate you all so much for taking the time to listen to these episodes and for all the love and support you have given me thus far. This is not only the last episode of season 2, but this is the last few weeks of my 37th year around the sun. And God willing, on April 29th, your girl will be 38 years old. There are so many lessons that I've learned, but before I get into a little bit of that, I wanted to give you the title of today's episode. Today's episode is called, the chapter is called. And I wanted to entitle it, This Chapter is Called, because we are all going through our own personal journeys. And if you know me, you know some people will call it nosy. I like to say inquisitive. But I am curious to know what your chapter is called. So please make sure you email me and let me know what season you're in. What would be your chapter? What would it be called? So for me, this chapter is called The Conclusion. This season was a personal walk into some of the lessons I've learned growing up, and this episode will be about some of the lessons I've learned in the last few years. Wherever you are in your journey, I am glad you have decided to keep going, because so many of us have checked out before time. So for that, I commend you. Now, I call this chapter of my life The Conclusion because conclusion means the end or finish of an event or process. And if you know me personally, you would know that that word conclusion is spot on. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, sometimes we leave tabs open, and that can affect our connection with God. These tabs could have been open for years, and it's not until we make a decision to check ourselves or focus on healing that we find out that we have so many tabs open. And last episode, I also made a reference to computer tabs, and now we have to visualize our phones this episode. So, my 4-year-old, shout out to my 4-year-old, he loves his phone and his tablet. He has gotten so advanced with navigating through his devices, he can even access Google to help him find something. Now, usually when he goes away on the weekend to see his dad, I will go through his phone because he will take his tablet with him, and I will clear all of the tabs from the Google search and delete old games that he doesn't play with anymore. So by the time he comes back, his phone functions properly and he's able to do it all over again, and I got to do the whole process over every 2 weeks. Now, the reason why I clean out his phone is because he'll have so many tabs open because he'll just start something new, start something new, start something new. And he'll delete as soon as he sees a game that he's interested in, he will install it or download it or forget about the games that he was playing with prior. And the more games he downloads, the slower his phone runs. So, my last beauty mark for you this season is this: when was the last time you cleared out all the unnecessary stuff you're holding on to? The unforgiveness, the mommy daddy issues, that breakup, that church hurt, your rejection or abandonment issues. You cannot move forward into any other phase of life until you have felt the pain, dealt with the pain, and healed from the pain. You shouldn't open any more doors until you close all the other ones you have opened. The old folks used to say that all the time. And in the Tyler Perry movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, you see Helen in the process of a separation, and she met Orlando, and she started to like him, and her mom said, don't open that door before you close a new one. Or, no, don't open the door before you close the old one. So basically, she was telling her, like, you really can't focus on this new man and to give this man your all and to be emotionally ready, to be physically ready, to be mentally ready until you have felt the pain from the last one, dealt with the pain from the last one, and healed from the pain from the last one. Because if you're not careful and you don't do the work, you will end up finding the remnants of your past creeping into your future, and it will cause you to mess around and jeopardize or sabotage the great thing that's in front of you. There is a saying also too that hurt people hurt people, and we know this to be true. But have you noticed that we never hear healed people heal people? That's because many of us heal in private and neglect to tell others in public. We lack compassion and empathy when people around us are going through things and get a case of amnesia like we've never been there. So this podcast is designed to help someone heal as I heal out loud. I'm not perfect and I'm not a therapist yet, but I've lived enough and I've been through enough to know that we overcome by our testimonies, and it is our job to pay it forward. It's time to take up space in this world and show others just how awesome God is by telling your story. People need to hear the test that you faced that you turned into a testimony. People need to hear the misery that broke your heart, which can cause you to have an amazing message. You do not have to be a social media influencer or a content creator to influence people. You can start with yourself and then pour into others. So, what are the steps? 1, you thank God for allowing you to get this far. 2, you start to affirm and speak life into yourself. 3, you renew your mind daily because each day brings its own set of problems. 4, understand the amount of patience and grace it will require to embrace people where they are until they get where they need to be. 5, understand that it's not about you and all about what God is doing through you to bless others. 6, rest in his timing and know that our ways are not his ways. 7, realize not everyone will be receptive to your message, but that's okay. Your job is to plant seeds and let the Lord do the rest. So we all have entered 2024 with great expectations. But so far, 2024 has been a doozy. 2024 has been the year and will continue to be the year of exposure. We have seen a lot of private battles become public, and most were done maliciously, but choose to turn that narrative around. Call out all the things that no longer serve you a purpose and replace them with something positive. The seeds you plant, and I said this in a previous episode, the seeds you plant will grow. So plant positive things into your mind, into your spirit, and watch how things turn around. This was something I neglected to do, and now I've learned that no one is worth jeopardizing your peace and your happiness, and no one is worth you going to hell for. So don't spend another minute letting everyone and anyone use you in life except God. Make the rest of the time you have left on earth the best time you have here on earth. I love you all. I thank you so much for listening. This is the conclusion of season 2 of the Blemish Beauty Podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Blemish Beauty Podcast, and I need you to remember, you are graced and gifted for a time such as this. You are not here by accident. You have purpose in this world, and you have been created to do great and amazing things. Make sure you connect with me on Instagram and on Facebook at the Blemish Beauty Podcast, and follow me on TikTok at Shira Renee 510. Until next time, spread love, show grace, and shine bright.